Hello there, you're welcome again to my YouTube channel, Prep with Chigozie, a page specifically designed to help you prepare adequately for the verbal section of the SAT. So in this video today, right, we're going to be taking a dive right into inference question. Yes, that question that often comes as which choice most logically complete the text. Yeah, that one you're probably thinking is the most difficult of all the reading questions. If you're thinking that way, by the way, you may need to think again, because I believe I have cracked the code. No, I'm certain I have cracked the code, because the trick you're going to be learning in this session today is something that has helped me and my students over the years deal with this question, no matter how technical it may appear. Because indeed, all your answers are situated in the text, somewhere demonstrated or restated in the text. And perhaps over time you have just been overthinking it, or you have just been thinking way outside the text because the question seems to come like that. You're going to be learning in this class today, you're going to be learning where to search to get your answer in the text for the inference question. You're going to also be learning the 5 simple steps to help you read the text well enough to options. So without wasting so much time, right, grab a pen, and you may need to scuttle through your files for some of those technical inference question that has given you headache over time, right? Scuttle through your files for those questions, because as you're learning these tricks, I want to encourage that you apply them immediately. So come with me. Wait, click the subscribe button. Now let's get right into it. Okay, now let's move into the steps to help you read your text well enough for the inference question. In the first place, the introductory sentence. That is, if you don't have a blob. If you have a blob, you're within the blob as well as the introductory sentence, but ensure you get the first claim of the text, because the truth you need to know, as you're going to find out in today's video, is the fact that that first sentence, that first claim, is more or less a reflection of your correct answer already. Yes, the other part of the text you want to focus a lot more on, not so much as the introductory sentence though, is the body detail, the details that sort of emphasize that introductory sentence or give you experimental process to justify or contradict that introductory sentence. And the last part you want to really grasp is the last sentence, that last bit of detail preceding the blank. And remember, just like you learned on the main idea video, you need to pay attention to transitions, indicating to you where there could be a drift from the first sentence or a continuity from the first sentence. Then you move right into evaluating your option. That is, of course, after you must have predicted what the answer should look like. Having read these particular portions I just mentioned, you have to have an idea what the answer should look like. And your prediction about the answer should not be so far-fetched. Be careful about thinking a lot outside what the text has stated, and you will be safe. Then of course evaluate your options and choose the option that matches your prediction as well, could be represented where? In the introductory sentence, the first sentence, in the first claim, or the last sentence preceding the blank. Now this sounds a little too common, but then let's put it in practice with the questions I have here with me right now. Now, the first question we have here, right, it doesn't have a blob, so we'll just dive right into the text. See how the question typically comes, which choice most logically complete the text. So once you see this, you know you're dealing with what? Inference question, right? Sentence, right? Now, is a Eurasian, I skip that, mind you, because I feel that definition of whatever euphobia usually is may not really be important to help us get what the main text is about. So Euphorbia usula is a Eurasian plant that has become invasive in North America, where it displaces native vegetation and seeking cattle. And let's get this. This particular kind of plant displaces native vegetation and seeking cattle. So this is a bad thing, affecting cattle negatively and of course affecting vegetation negatively. Now this is what I'm holding on to, right? If there is no drift, my answer will be a reflection of this, simply put. But then let's see the body details now. Usula can be controlled with chemical herbicides, but that approach can also kill harmless plants. So we see the next detail we are saying is the fact that it can be controlled with herbicide, but even that process of using chemical herbicides can do what? Can kill the plant. So we have 2 basic details now. This thing is dangerous. It can be controlled. Even as detail, recent research on introducing engineered DNA into plant species to inhibit their reproduction may offer a path towards exclusively targeting Usula. So of course, we see that there is a recent research devoted to ensuring that Usula can be targeted naturally without affecting other plans. I think I just made a prediction. Is that easy? Now, where did I get that from? Notice the contrast detail we have here, introducing that, but that approach can also kill harmless plans. And notice that the new detail we have sort of contradicts that. It's telling that this thing, this dangerous living sponge, could be targeted singularly. So consequently, my answer, I am drawing it from the contrast detail. Now that brings us to the idea of where your answer could be found. Now, if I didn't have any new information after that first sentence, like I mentioned earlier, my answer will simply be a reflection of this detail here that says Euphorbia ustula is a dangerous kind of sponge that affects vegetation and cattle. But then there was a contrast. So my answer could be either of two things. My answer can be situated around this contrast, or it should combine in a way this contrast detail and that first claim. So I am doing both now. I'm doing both. I am getting my answer from a combination of that first detail about how dangerous this thing is and how it can be controlled but could be harmless, and I'm combining that detail with the idea of exclusively targeting this dangerous living sponge. I'm also going to make a prediction about just the last part. No, my prediction are two things. First of all, I could say that consequently, Euphorbia ustula, which is a very dangerous living sponge, can be controlled, can be targeted exclusively without harming other plants. So you see what I just did is a combination of both details, before the contrast and after the contrast. Now, if I choose to just limit my prediction to the contrast detail, my answer should now sound like this. Consequently, ustula can be handled, can be targeted, can be dealt with, can be controlled. So it could be either of two. Now let's go to the options and you will see how the options, the right option reflects any of these two predictions I made. Option A said making individual ustula plants more susceptible to existing chemical herbicides. Remember, this contradicts the text. The text said that chemical herbicides are ineffective. The effective process instead is the engineering DNA process. So this is totally contradicting the text, right? B, enhancing the ecological benefit. This is also another contradicting detail. Ustula does not have any ecological benefits. Option C, enabling cattle to consume ustula without becoming sick. The main point of that is targeting ustula, right? Not about cattle consuming it. And of course, that idea of the cattle is too limited. There's a lot. I think there is another element that these ustula affect apart from cattle, vegetation as well. So this is too limited an answer. It does not in any way resemble the prediction I made or is a true reflection of the text. Option D, reducing invasive ustula numbers without harming other organisms. Perfect. So my first prediction. Now look at this answer very well and look at that information around that but. Ustula can be controlled with chemical herbicide, but that approach can kill harmless plants. And you now have engineered DNA into plant species to inhibit their reproduction. That means reducing their spread. Offer a path towards exclusively targeting, in other words, affecting, dealing with this individually without affecting other plants. And look at how this just resembles. So you see, you were supposed to logically complete the text, but not think outside the text, because this is just the best answer. We could even take a look at another question and see that this strategy is consistent. Now, the next question we are looking at is one that does not have a contrary detail, a contrast information. And you will see that the answer is situated in the first claim, in the first sentence of the text. Now, let's look at this. Although military veterans make up a small proportion of the total population of the United States, they occupy a significantly higher proportion of the jobs in the civilian government. Now, I often tell my students, right, whenever you have a sentence, a complex sentence like the beginning with the although or while information, the main point that you should focus a lot more on, tell me you're dealing with the inference question, is the information after the comma. That information, that independent clause is what you're focusing on. As it stands now, the detail, the point in this sentence is that military veterans occupy a significantly higher proportion of the jobs in the civilian government. This should be what my answer should look like. They occupy most of the jobs in the civilian government. Now, there's a full stop. So I can't say any but or however, anything that seems to give us a shift. But then let's just read the supporting detail, right? One possible explanation for this disproportionate representation is that military service familiarizes people with certain organizational structures that are also reflected in the civilian government bureaucracy. So they're just giving us a supporting detail to justify why civilian government jobs are more attractive to military veterans. During their military service, they are familiarized with civilian government ways and processes. And this familiarity, therefore, I'll just bring in that first sentence. This familiarity, therefore, enhances the situation where they occupy more civilian jobs, or makes more civilian jobs, makes them more likely, or makes military veterans more likely to work in civilian jobs. That is it. Now let's see what the options give us, right? Option A, makes civilian government jobs especially appealing to military veterans. This is it. Now look at this and look at that first sentence. They occupy a significantly higher proportion of the jobs in the civilian government. And look at this. Make civilian government jobs especially appealing to military veterans. Perfect rephrase of that detail. Do we have to go any further? The other words are wrong, right? Alters the typical relationship between military service and subsequent career preferences. Totally off. What subsequent career preferences? The text does not mention any career preference. Now, if you're thinking a lot outside the text, you're bound to be tempted by this kind of answer. You'll not be thinking, because they are mostly in civilian government jobs, then it means that they don't choose other preferences. Nah, don't do that. Option C encourages non-veteran applying for civilian government jobs to consider military service instead. Why? I don't see non-veterans in the text. That is off the scope of the text. Option D increases the number of civilian government jobs that require some amount of military experience to perform. No, civilian government jobs, according to the text, does not require military experience. Instead, military service teaches people civilian government jobs. So this reverses the relationship entirely. But then, if you understood the trick I applied very well, you won't even be tempted by this answer. And some of the wrong answers are quite ridiculous, to say the least. Like they are answers that are meant to trick you. So you get this, and of course, know peace and always deal with this question very well. To have more tips and tricks like this on the reading section of the verbal SAT, you want to subscribe. That is, if you're new here, engage me in the comment section. Let me know the next topic you want me to treat, right? The students have asked for this topic a lot, which is why I'm treating it right now, and it seems to even be the easiest I have had to do on this playlist so far. So until we meet in another informative and hopefully helpful video, I hope that you keep practicing, especially these tricks we've learned today, and I wish you the very best on your test.